Mr. Robinson, for count 1, aggravated murder, a capital felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-
Mark Levin dropped something that set the internet on fire. He claimed he had uncovered the real secrets behind who shot Charlie Kirk. The moment his broadcast ended, the chatter spread like wildfire. Clips of the show shared, quotes posted and replayed, every line picked apart. Some people saw what Levin said as proof of what they already suspected, that there was more going on than what government statements were giving us. Others thought it was irresponsible, that he was stirring up rumors before there was enough evidence. But one thing was clear. After that leak, nobody could stay quiet. Levin's allegation was chilling. He argued the shooter didn't act completely alone, that they had been radicalized in places, online or in real life, where criticism of conservative voices was not just tolerated, but normalized. That there were people, groups, ideologies pushing hostility, and that either no one saw the warning signs or authorities ignored them. The claim was not small, it suggested negligence. Maybe worse, deliberate concealment. Almost immediately, conversations broke out. What communities was Levin talking about? Was he referencing fringe online spaces filled with vitriol? Were campus groups involved? Or more mainstream organizations that have had public disagreements with Kirk? Levin didn't give many names, but he dropped enough hints to trigger speculation. People started digging, old chat rooms, posts, archived screenshots, anything to find evidence of connection. What made it especially powerful was timing. This was during the early hours of investigation, when facts are scarce, when fear and uncertainty run high. Law enforcement releases carefully measured pieces of information. They move cautiously. But silence creates a vacuum, and Levin's words filled that vacuum. Suddenly, statements that might have sounded like guesswork felt like revelation. Many criticized him. They said he was putting politics ahead of respect for the truth. That by presenting accusations without full proof, he risked damaging innocent lives or throwing fuel on sectarian fires. They argued that people might latch onto his words, assume guilt, draw conclusions, build narratives that could incite violence or mistrust. Levin pushed back fiercely. He said that when someone as public as Charlie Kirk is attacked, transparency isn't optional. It's essential. That withholding information only increases suspicion. That the more ideological climate becomes toxic, the more people need clarity, not silence. He claimed truth matters, even if it hurts. That being quiet is a luxury we can't afford when lives and beliefs are at stake. Levin framed the issue this way. If a public figure who speaks loudly, who mobilizes others, can be targeted like this, and if there were signs, webs of influence, echo chambers of hatred leading up to it, then it isn't just about one shooting. It's about what kind of environment allows that shooting, who allowed it, what messages contributed, what silence enabled. In the days after the leak, the public's attention shifted. From who fired the gun to who fired the ideas that prepared him. People asked, what post, what comment section, what group laughed at certain rhetoric? What media influencers reinforced grievances? What online forums spread ideology? Which communities were breeding resentment and anger? Which voices were blamed for stoking tension? Behind the scenes, rumors circulated. Levin had sources, allegedly inside law enforcement or political circles, that were being frustrated by slow disclosure. Some said he had seen briefing documents, internal memos, or even unredacted evidence. Levin stayed vague. He didn't give names or show proof publicly, but his certainty lent weight to what he said. It felt dangerous and credible all at once. Law enforcement found themselves in a difficult position. Confirming Levin's claims might mean acknowledging they held back information. Denying them might be interpreted as hiding something. Either path risks eroding public trust. The silence before official statements began to look like a mission. At the same time, the families involved were dragged into the narrative. The Kirk family, still in mourning, saw their grief and privacy turned into public spectacle and political talking points. For them, the stakes rose beyond loss. It became about safety, about legacy, about whether Charlie's death would be remembered as a moment of tragedy or a flashpoint in ideology wars. Daily life changed. Routine behaviors became vulnerable. Questions emerged. Who among our friends knew too much? What words invited danger? What grief could be spoken and what must be silenced? On the other side, the shooter's family faced another storm. Shame, pressure, scrutiny. Even before names or motives fully confirmed, people speculated. Did they notice changes? Did they hear certain ideas? Did they see signs of radicalization? Social media made everyone suspect. Warnings flew that guilt by association is cruel, but the public mood demanded answers, and families found themselves bearing weight they never chose. Media response mirrored the divide. Some pundits rallied around Levin's framing, "We must know everything." Others warned, "This is reckless. Let's wait for proof." Talk shows debated whether leaks like Levin's help democracy or harm it. Political commentators accused opponents of weaponizing tragedy. Legal experts cautioned about defamation, presumption of innocence, and whether leaks or leaks-like claims could compromise investigations. The leak shifted the narrative itself, from what happened to who is responsible and what responsibility belongs to whom. It reframed investigations as possible exposure, not only of a shooter, but of systems, of moderate voices, extremist rhetoric, ideological blame, institutional response. For many, the idea that the shooter emerged from an ecosystem of hatred, not isolated but nurtured, became more plausible than the idea of a lone actor. But key questions remain. What concrete evidence backs Levin's claims? Are there documented connections? Do servers or platforms hold records of group chats, forums, exchanges? Can investigators trace what people saw, typed, shared? And most crucially, will those discoveries change anything? Legal accountability, public policy, social norms? Because Levin's leak didn't just expose a possible background, it forced a choice for society. Either we accept that political violence can be born of words and communities about which some are silent, or we pretend it emerged in vacuum and that nothing contributed but evil intent. Either we demand accountability broadly of rhetoric, platforms, influencers, or we confine our outrage to the individual shooter. At stake is more than one life. It's about what we let our public life become, how we treat ideas, how we monitor online spaces, how we protect people who speak loudly and sometimes offend, how transparent institutions must be when someone dies because of ideology or perceived ideology, how power handles accusations, how media covers them, and how citizens digest them. In all of this, Levin's leak has become a marker, a moment where the story of Charlie Kirk's death stopped being just about sorrow. It became about collective responsibility, about how we got here, what beliefs, what peers, what platforms shaped the shooter's mind. The narrative now is not limited to tragedy. It's about truth, accountability, ideological ecosystems, and whether a society can face what discomfort it created. For viewers, it begs this: do you care only about knowing who fired the shot? Or do you care about what shot prepared their aim? Do you let grief demand silence or let it demand justice? This leak, real or half-verified, is doing more than setting the record. It's demanding questions we all must answer. Because sometimes the hardest part of loss isn't mourning, it's listening.